When our homes are no longer safe, the 911 system can mean the difference between life and death. George and Vera Shellhorn live in a suburb of Los Angeles. Vera is raising their 10-month-old daughter and 11-year-old son. George owns a trucking business and often keeps a lot of cash on hand. On Sunday, February 12th, the Shellhorns were at home watching television. The events that follow are reenacted by the Shellhorns just as they happened, shortly before 9 p.m. George had the flu and the baby was fussing when someone knocked at the door.
A man walked in that I didn't recognize.
Who else is here?
My son, he's in his bedroom. I was thinking, we're going to die. They're going to shoot us. The guy didn't have a mask on, no gloves on. You could feel the threat behind what he was saying. I heard my son screaming when the guy went in his room, and then I didn't hear nothing. I, figured I've got to do something, and I assumed they're going to kill us regardless, and I want to make sure somebody knows what's going on.
911 emergency, what are you reporting? Stay on the line. Stay on the line. Stay on the line, ma'am. Stay on the line. What'd you get, Dale? We got a 459 now.
Where's it at?
What do you have? 459 now with guns.
Where is it? Where's it at? Open the safe, George. Open the safe, George. Come on.
I started worrying about the 911. I didn't sound like myself on the phone, so I thought maybe somebody was taking it as a crank call.
The San Dimas Sheriff's Department was taking Vera's call seriously.
You don't want to go knocking on a door in a situation like that, especially when there's weapons involved, because we don't know the people. Anybody could come to the door and say, yeah, I live here, everything's all right, guys, or they could come to the door with guns. So we're not going to just go barging into the house until we know what we have.
Have the call made.
295. As we were set up on the front, I had requested to have Walnut Station called back to the house. When we got there, we didn't see any activity. We didn't hear anything unusual. So we were waiting, trying to get additional information whether the suspects were inside.
It was a different man that came back in. He was very nervous and told me, don't answer the phone, don't do nothing. He was using a lot of profanity, and then pointed the gun at my baby and said, I'll shoot you. Just sit still.
The phone kept ringing. I thought it was the people that was calling me for billings for the next day. And if I didn't answer the phone, that they were going to think something's wrong, and then there were going to be some problems.
Oh, answer it.
Hello?
Is there a problem there?
And I thought to myself, well, who's this? So I didn't say nothing. I said, just...
Yeah, take a load of sand to Pyramid at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And then he continued to say, this, you talking to me?
This is the Sheriff's Department.
I don't give it. Just take a load of sand to Pyramid Ready Mix, okay?
I didn't want the guy that was standing next to me to hear him saying, this is the Sheriff's Department.
What's taking so long? Come on, guys, let's go. Open the boxes, George.
I have the keys.
Be good,
Take
George.
me to the yard and get the key.
Just say that. I got my own set.
So he took 4 keys out, and he had the 4 right keys, and he opened it up, and they continued to take everything that's in the safe.
George had been set up. The robbers knew his name, knew about his safe, and the money in it, even had the keys.
They took $145,000. I had a payroll coming up, and it was a holiday coming up on Monday, and sometimes I have to keep cash around to pay these guys.
Come on, guys! Let me get out of here! Let's go, let's get out of here.
I didn't know what was going through their head. I knew it was going through mine. They come in with no mask or anything, and that kind of worried me.
Come on, get on the couch, both of you, get on the couch!
Don't shoot us, please. Don't shoot.
Shut up! Shut up!
Friends, police! Drop the gun now! Drop it! Don't try it, you'll die now! Drop it!
The third robber headed for the back door.
Come on, move! Get over to the back of the truck.
Not knowing the police were outside, George went for his gun.
It scared me more walking out the door because I knew when I walked out the door with a gun in my hand, I was capable of shooting somebody.
George!
Coming out the door. Freeze! Put the gun down. I don't know who it is. Put the gun down. The black stripe on his shirt. That's the homeowner. Put the gun down.
Well, when the victim first came out, all I knew was he was a man carrying a gun. From the minute he walked out the door, I had the feeling he was going to shoot. If he did something he wasn't supposed to, I would have had no choice, because I was going to go home at the end of the shift. And he never would have gotten the shot off had he tried.
The 911 system may have saved their lives. My feeling on it is that he was planning on executing them before he left.
One coming up.
He's tied up.
If the cops had arrived 2 minutes later, it could have been a different story.
You got any of the guns on you whatsoever? You got anything on you?
No.
I didn't want to die, and I just felt like I had to do something, that I just couldn't sit there and let this happen.
You live here?
Yes.
What's going on? Anybody else left in the house?
And I love my family, I love my husband,
Shh. Are you okay, Adam?
and thinking about losing my kids, you know. You just feel like somebody's taking something away from you that's more valuable than anything else that they could come in and take. You know, your material things. They don't mean as much.
2 men were caught in front of the house with all the money and loot. One pleaded guilty to weapons violations and residential robbery and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The other is awaiting trial. The man who went out the back is still at large.